Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. And in this video, well, we're going to see a very extreme tweet that came from Jack Dorsey that the media jumped on big time. Also, a shocking audio from Consensus Joe Lubin. It's shocking. And no, I don't think we can wrap XRP on Flare to skirt the securities laws should XRP become a security. And also Attorney John Deaton, he has some big words of warning. I want to play that for you because I think it's very important no matter what you're holding. So even Bitcoin and Ethereum holders have to heed his warning. So the market first is mixed. Yeah, we are sitting at 2.5 trillion, actually an increase over the last 24 hours, 1.16% up. But things are not flowing into Bitcoin, actually. It's rather going into projects like Shiba Inu, up 39%, up 53% in the last 7 days. Unbelievable. But Curve, Harmony, Nexo, Zcash, Dash, EOS, Phantom, they're all up. And then the projects that are usually up, like Terra, Axie, and Polkadot, are having a little bit of a pullback. So what we want to take a look is Bitcoin, because it just can't seem to make up its mind. It is hedging backwards in the wrong direction over the last 48 hours, sitting at 60,906 right now. I don't know. I'm just not sure where this market is going. And I do say again, anybody who thinks they do know, I want to tell you they do not. Okay, I am going to first talk about this very interesting tweet that came. First, you want to know that technically speaking, hyperinflation refers to a rapid, unrestrained increase in prices, typically exceeding 50% each month on month over time. So the fact that Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, tweeted out that we are going to see hyperinflation in the United States and the world very soon, I think was pretty extreme. All the media did pick it up. But what's interesting to me is he said this same thing back in June at a Bitcoin conference, and nobody talked about it really then. But this tweet from Saturday was really grabbing all the headlines. Now, maybe it could have been because on Friday, the Federal Reserve Chair Powell acknowledged that inflation pressures are likely going to last longer than previously expected, and that we should maybe expect it to run well into next year. I think that actually is what everyone is fearing. But the fact that Jack is a well-known, I don't call him a celebrity, but because he is, one of those faces that get a lot of media attention as opposed to the Reserve Chair Powell, people were clinging on to it. Let me just take it to show you the 20 countries with the highest inflation rate. This is for 2020. And you can see at the bottom with a 20% rate is Ethiopia, followed by Libya, Angola, Haiti, Yemen, Suriname, the Islamic Republic of Iran, South Sudan, Argentina, Lebanon, Sudan, Zimbabwe, and at the top, Venezuela with a to the moon rate of 2,355. So you can call me a skeptic if you like. That's okay. I think being a skeptic is sometimes a good trait because you can't take things at face value. And not that I really believe fully what I tweeted here, but what I'm trying to illustrate is that I'm thinking about both sides of the coin here. And I was thinking about inflation, and you need to always know that there is an agenda, always, not just by companies, but by individuals. And I believe there are certain participants that are going to talk their book to increase market fear, to raise crypto, and hoping to get it to peak in 2022 to push the tax implications out. That's just a possibility, okay? And also what I'm thinking about the supply chain and all the disruptions that are happening with the blame of it increasing price. Let me tell you, there are certain companies that are leaning into the supply chain disruptions because they profit big time with the rising prices. So you really need to kind of think when you step back as to why some of these things are said and why some people latch onto it. All right, I am now going to take you to a interesting portion of a video that was put out there by Coin Bureau. And Guy, when I first saw it, I said to myself, wow, yeah, wow. So if we really can wrap XRP, should it become a security, and wrap it on a site like Flare Networks, could we, skirt the security law? And I want you to just listen to these first minute of a 2-minute video so you totally understand what I'm talking about here, because I think it was interesting what Guy brought up, but I think Jungle Inc. really found the answer to this. So have a listen first to the first 60 seconds.
And there's actually a second way they could do it. After my most recent video about Terra, I was surprised to find out that Terra's Luna coin was trading on Coinbase, even though it's likely a security in the eyes of US regulators due to its relative centralization. As far as I can tell, the reason why Coinbase can get away with listing Luna is because it hasn't listed native Luna. Instead, it's listed wrapped Luna, an ERC20 token on Ethereum. This is something that I've seen Coinbase do with other cryptocurrencies that are almost certainly securities, and I'm almost 100% convinced that it's a loophole for listing otherwise unlistable cryptos. If I'm correct, this means Coinbase could list XRP as a wrapped ERC20 token on Ethereum, something that should be possible using Flare Network, which is designed to bring smart contracts to XRP. This is something the XRP army should look into, and I'll leave a link to my video about Flare Network in the description if you need it.
All right, so the person who looked into it, or at least responded to this, is Jungle Inc. And he points out that Gary Gensler is clear. There are no loopholes to listing a security. Whether it's wrapped or not wrapped, it falls under the same regulatory oversight as XRP itself. So good thing XRP isn't a security and we don't have to worry about any of that. I know he said that in tongue-in-cheek, but here we have it. When you wrap a token, it becomes a synthetic token that has the exposure to the underlying original token. So make no mistake, he says, it doesn't matter whether it's a stock token, a stable value token, it's his new vocabulary, backed by securities, or any other virtual product that provides synthetic exposure to underlying securities, he said. These platforms, whether in the decentralized or centralized finance space, are implicated by the securities laws and must work within our securities regime. So no, a wrapped token, according to what has been said here, is not going to be able to skirt around that law. All right, we're going to now jump to attorney John Deaton. This is a new video that he put out. It's an important one, and he makes it clear that we better hope that the SEC fails in what it's attempting to do. And it doesn't mean that you need to or should root for Ripple or XRP, but you better hope that the SEC falls flat on its face in what is attempting to do, because this SEC versus XRP case, well, it is going to affect everybody. And he really saw that 6 days after the claim was made. He wrote his writ of mandamus, and you'll see that in the details on this particular video, he goes into the complaint. And the biggest misconception of the entire case is that many people think this is only about XRP being a security, but it is simply not. And I want to play just this beginning for you. I'm going to put a link to it in the description below. It's a video that no matter what you hold, especially if you hold Bitcoin and Ethereum, you need to watch this. Here we go.
And that's why I said the biggest misconception out there is that the SEC is only claiming that the way Ripple sells XRP, that it's a security. And that is simply not true. Because after my writ of mandamus, where I was saying, listen, you should only be going after Ripple in the way Ripple sells it, the SEC filed its first amended complaint on February 19th, 2021. It is document 46 that is in the file in the Southern District, New York case docket. And let's review what the SEC says, not what John Deaton says, but let's review what the SEC says and why. This is the most dangerous SEC enforcement action that I've personally ever read. But before we do that, for all the people out there who are against Ripple or against XRP, the Bitcoin maximalists out there or the Ethereum maximalists, I want to refer you to a 2015 video by Joseph Brunfest, a former SEC commissioner, and listen to what he said about Bitcoin in 2015 and whether or not the SEC believed Bitcoin was a security in and of itself. Take a listen.
We know that if you have a partnership and the partnership buys Bitcoin, then that partnership can be exactly like a partnership that buys a horse. And in that situation, your interest in the partnership that owns the Bitcoin, that's a security. That's not complicated at all. But the more interesting question that the courts and the SEC haven't yet looked at is the challenge of whether the Bitcoin itself is a security. And there, the answer, I think, is a resounding sometimes.
Now, many of you think that, John, that's 2015. A lot has changed. The SEC has evolved in those 5 to 6 years. Well, let's listen to what SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce said on the Thinking Crypto channel and whether or not the SEC still views the security as the token itself.
We tend, as the SEC, to talk about the token itself as being a security. And that's really a shorthand because what the question really is so like a stock or a bond is a security, but a securities offering can include an investment contract, which is what Howey's all about. And so it's not that the thing itself, the Howey case, for example, was about orange groves. It's not that the orange groves themselves or the orange trees or the oranges were a security. What we were saying is the way that you sold those pieces of the orange grove, it was a securities offering because it was an investment of money. You were looking for profits based solely on the efforts of someone else. That's what a securities offering is all about. And so instead, what we've done now is we've started to say, well, the orange groves are kind of like the security. And so if you sell a piece of an orange grove as in a securities offering, then it continues to be a security, the orange grove piece itself. I think it's better if we really look at the offering as a whole and we don't try to treat the tokens as securities. And so that's where I start to think we need to take a step back and stop thinking about the token as a security itself.
Yeah, good point. This is a really great video. I'm going to put a link to it in the description below. I think if you haven't seen John Deaton speak on this subject, because he points out it in additional paragraphs that all assets are falling under the SEC to try to define everything as a security, that every digital asset on the planet Earth, as he goes on to say, will be affected should the SEC wins. This language applies to all, yes, including Bitcoin. All right, we are fighting the good fight. I'm telling you, we are on the right side of truth. I want to play an audio for you that proves this. This is Brad Kimes breaking down a shocking conversation that a potential investor is having with Joe Lubin when he was promoting the Ethereum ICO. This is unbelievable if you haven't heard it. Here we go.
Yeah, Mike's asking will there be a limit on the amount that a person could invest in Ethereum?
What you're about to hear Joseph Lubin say here is extremely damning. I want to tell you right now, it is extremely damning I mean, I don't know how you get around this. I really, really don't. And at the very least, I've said this and been calling for this for a long time. There needs to be an independent counsel that is investigating Ethereum's unregistered ICO and the SEC's possible, culpability in this process.
A person can buy from any number of different identities. We may limit the size, the unit size of the sale, just to make it easier to disguise. Let's say if you're a whale, you want.
Just to make it easier to disguise who you are and how much you're getting. Keep listening.
You can buy 50,000 units and just so nobody scares people with an enormous initial boost. So if you are a whale, if you want to plan on investing several million US dollars, then you can do that in with multiple identities.
Multiple identities now. This is what we're talking about. We're being explained to, at the time, by the co-founder, Joseph Lubin, for the Ethereum fundraise, how you can disguise your identities and use multiple identities and accounts to buy as much of it as you want.
So just don't let your retweets go to waste. You need to, whenever you share this on Twitter, crypto Twitter, you need to make sure that you are putting in your local and state and federal agencies and to bring this truth to the light. All right, if your exchange is on this card that Stetis did, it's a fabulous card, as always. He's got really a great touch for design. You want to just check on whether or not the exchange that you have was indeed one of the recipients of the Songbird token, which is used on the test Canary platform called Songbird. And you should be pressuring your exchange to distribute that because they are in many instances feeling like they can just keep your Songbird, and that is just plain wrong. And so please give them the pressure that they deserve to distribute because they have received it. And so I just want to just let everyone know that I'm hearing a lot of what I would call people crying wolf. And what that is, it is a fable credited to the Greek Aesop. He lived in 620, died in 564. And it was a fable that tried to teach people the lesson that if you keep telling mistruths, when you finally speak the truth, nobody's going to believe you. And so I'm hearing a lot of wolf cries out there with price. I'm hearing a lot of wolf cries about the SEC versus Ripple case. And so, I just think that it has its blowback and it has its negative effect because there are a lot of new people in this space who are believing a lot of this narrative. And what's going to happen is they're going to find that it's not true. And so I think it's setting up a lot of people for disappointment. That's my point. And we're going to jump to the fluff and we're going to stick with Fables because the country of Japan, like every country, has their fables that they've told over the centuries. Many of these fables are used to teach lessons. And there's one in particular that I love in Japan. It's called Urashima Taro, and it's a tale of a village that's near the sea in the southern Japan region. And there's a young fisherman that's known for his kind heart. And on the way home one day after fishing, he saw some young boys tormenting a turtle. And he asked the boys to just please return the turtle back to the sea. And they just laughed at him. So the fisherman gave the boys all of his money that he had received from his daily catch, he brought the turtle and returned it to the sea. And then one other day when he was fishing, he heard kind of a strange voice coming from the sea, which turned out to be a large and ancient turtle. The turtle wanted to take him into the presence of the king that lives down under the sea. And he said, come on, get on my back. I will help you complete the journey. You need to be rewarded. So they arrived, and the whole story is very interesting. They have this big party, and I think he meets the princess, which is the daughter. And then at the end of the celebration, they give him a gift. It's a beautiful lacquer box, and they told him that he could return with it, but to never open the box. Well, it was the lesson to be obedient, which, you can interpret that as you may, but this is what this particular fable is teaching, that you need to listen to your, I don't know, maybe it's just to, fall into line. So when he came back, the old fisherman opened the box, and he lost the protection against the effects of really old age. And so he didn't live a happy life. And this is a fable that's often told in the form of plays that children perform at schools. It's a very, very popular one. And then in thinking of my favorite fable, just share with you, I thought, it's this deep, strong relationship that many Japanese people have with the ocean. So many of the stories have to do with the water, if you really look at all the different fables out there. And especially there are people who live in the southern islands of Okinawa that really, really have a deep relationship with the ocean, and it shows up in their music, which is called nanto. It's quite unique, and it is a folk music also that is called minyo, and often accompanied by this special sanshin, which is a 3-stringed lute, has a very unique sound. And they also sometimes use a handheld drum that's like the size of a tambourine. And when people hear this music for the first time, like this guy and girl did, the guy cried. That's how special this music is. And there is a folk group that I want you to know about. It's called Begin. And they have made the most popular song ever from these islands. I think they're from Ashigaki Island. And it is arguably the most popular song to cover from the Okinawan Islands. And it is I just said, I think if you are alive, you need to know about this music. And I'm curious what your response is going to be. I've selected 4 versions for you. The first one is the original version, and I'll put a link to it in the description. The second one is a really sweet duet. I mean, there are just hundreds to choose from. Look at this one, has received 3 million views. Let me see. This has received 19 million views. Gives you an idea of how popular this song is. The third version is a solo with a gal who's got just a really pure and beautiful voice. I thought that was a good choice. And the fourth version is of a traditional Okinawan group. This is about as traditional as you get in terms of the sound. So I'm really curious if any of these 4 versions make you cry. All right, everybody, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.